Hello, Pisces. How are you doing? It's so great to see everybody. Uh, Wanted to start off with a little bit of love from this furry creature. I know a lot of you are feeling stress or anxiety, and it always helps to have some virtual licks and kisses from this little guy. So I'm going to put him down, but I wanted to bring him up here for the beginning portion. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. If you just joined and this is your first time, you're very welcome today. I'm so happy to be here, and it's really actually quite an honor to be able to be present as we're going through a lot of shifts, a lot of changes across the world. And I actually feel that at times like these, that there's more that we share in common than kind of that separates us. So I'm gonna do my best to lay out a roadmap for everybody today. I'd like to welcome back everybody that has been with me for a while. I see a lot of members here in the chat, so thank you for that membership. It actually helped me purchase a new deck, which I'll be using today. This is Wizards Tarot. There's a link, Ryan or Maria can put it out, where you can look at the decks on my website, and you can get a link there to Amazon if you want to buy it. I like this one because there's like some divine masculine energy in it as well as feminine, so it'll be nice. So let's talk about how I organize everything and what's in store for today. First of all, you can always use this for your sun, rising, and moon sign. You can also watch on behalf of somebody that you care about in your life. And if you really don't know a lot about your chart, you don't know when you were born and all of that, you just know birth date, then stick with the sign that you were born under. You'll get all the information you need by doing that. I always separate this into four major parts. I like to start off with channeled information. And what I do is basically a couple hours before I get started, I will begin meditating, selecting a deck of cards, tuning in to see what's coming through, and I'll get visions or sounds or feelings, and then I share that with you. So the first part is a psychic download. The next part is going to be when I use the cards to create a Celtic Cross, and that gives the blueprint for the month ahead. High points, challenges, everything in between. Then I look at health, wealth, love, and destiny so that we can home in on some certain areas. That is going to look different now as we're going through a pandemic. Like, love may be more about existing relationships. Wealth may be about how to protect it or come back from a layoff, or if you have a job, looking at can you keep it, things like that. So I'm going to change perspective a little bit in the expanded forecast. And guess what? That's one of the benefits of me doing this sign later, is that I'll be able to kind of fine tune it for current events going on. So there's a benefit to being number 12 in the zodiac. You're number one to me, so don't worry about it. All right, and after that, we're going to do a quick review of everything that we talk about, and then I'm going to work on some soul work, S-O-U-L. We'll be looking at how to kind of find a sense of renewal when all of this sort of bad news seems to be going on around us, how to reinvent yourself, how to be flexible. I think these are the key things that each and every sign needs. So that's a common thread that I've been pulling through all 12 signs. After this, we will do something really powerful, which is incorporate everything that we talked about and meditate. And through this, heal one another, find a little bit of clarity, and hopefully release some of the patterns that aren't working anymore. I'd like to give you a couple quick notes about how also Super Chat works for me. It's a little different than maybe if you follow someone else. So first of all, Super Chat is activated by this little icon, the dollar sign next to the smiley face. And through that, you can throw out like a sticker just to say thank you. It helps me buy supplies. You can also just say that you like what I'm doing, and it's a nice way to give support. Like that. Thank you so much. For everybody that does this, I'm going to not interrupt the flow of the reading, but after the video is posted for replay, I'll call you out in a comment. But I'd like to say from the bottom of my heart, that helps, especially during these difficult times. I know that you're struggling like me, and I depend on your generosity to keep showing up. So thank you. At the very end, I'll give a little bit more of information on how you can book an appointment, join me on social media, all of that. But let's get into the forecast. There's a lot to talk about, and I know that everybody's curious about what's going on. So we'll start with the channeled forecast here, the channeled information. So I got three main pieces of information when I started to tune in. And the first thing that came through, my guide showed me the symbol of a compass, and the word wayfinding came to me. And I had to kind of look it up too. Wayfinding is basically the different ways that we are able to orient ourselves to what's going on in the world. So if it's nautical, you may be using the stars. If it's just every day, it might be a compass. And for the rest of us, it's our kind of gut instinct. So I think one of the things that we want to rely on right now is what your instinct, what your sort of your third eye and also your gut is telling you, and your heart for that matter. it won't lead you astray during this period. You're going to be able to figure out and reorient. I think that's the other thing. We've been talking in many signs about kind of figuring out what next. Obviously, there are things that are out of your control, but what they are really doing, I have this card in my spread called the catalyst. What they're really doing is giving you a catalyst to change. So go back to your heart and tune into that inner compass and think, what is it that I want? What is it that's feeling right for me? And then don't give up on something that's important to you. An example of this for me actually is I am working now to finish up the production of my book because I'll be self-releasing it later this year, probably end of summer. So in order to do that, I'm sending it off for a final edit. I'm going to be hiring an illustrator. I'll be doing a lot of things right now, which are kind of a leap of faith because the economy is shutting down, but I want to get the book out this year. So I have a goal, I'm working on it, and it will come out later this year. So that's an example of something that I care about, and I keep showing up for all of this. Keep a schedule, keep a focal point, and work on it. And that's actually jumping ahead, so I'm going to switch to this card. When I looked at Apollo, I was reminded of his cosmic sister in mythology, Artemis. And Artemis is a huntress. She's the goddess of the moon. She's a huntress and connected strongly with animals. But the two things that came through rather clearly for me was strength, almost like the strength card in tarot. And also, you see her a lot with her bow and arrow, right? So it was the precision, focus, and being able to sort of like target something that you want. I think that right now, sometimes we get sidelined by the news. And what you need to sometimes do is once you've consumed what you need, then redirect your focus to something you can control. Because a lot of things are out of our sort of jurisdiction right now. So we understand what we can't do. Let's focus on what we can do. And you're going to combine these two. You'll go back into your inner compass and figure out what it is that you can take advantage of during this time. You're going to focus your energy and your efforts on that rather than how bad things seem to get or what's going on or financial markets and all of that. That will over time. I actually pulled some cards earlier just looking at some of those things. And I got a balancing card. I think that it was kind of out of whack. So what we're seeing now is a major adjustment and balancing. We can't worry about that right now, but we can worry about ourselves and what the next step will be. 6, 8, 12, or 18 months, as we've heard, it might take that long. So start putting into a plan where you want to be a year and a half from now and work backwards from that plan. So for some of you, that can be training that you're going to be doing while you're at home. For some of you, this can be just working on a personal project. And when you have more resources, you'll be able to do something with it. And for some of you, it might just be healing. And that brings me to the next point, which was I tuned into the heart space and I could just sort of see like, it was almost like someone giving themselves a hug. So I think for some of you, there's personal forgiveness to happen or to occur. And for the rest of you, there's a strong urge from my guides and yours to make amends. And I'll give a personal sort of account, which might help you understand like why it's important. This was a long time ago. I think it was about 15 years ago for me. But I had a friend that I was doing some work for. We got into a disagreement and we just stopped talking for months. We had a lot of mutual friends. And one day I just ran into them while I was out and about. And I kind of got a download then, even when I wasn't as tuned into my my psychic side. I was like, just let it go. Like, it's not worth it. Life is short. And that was actually what came into my head. So I just went up, gave this person a hug and said, I don't know what happened. I said, but let's just stop it. We have, we're going to see each other all the time. I don't want it to be awkward. And the person kind of melted. They were so happy I said that. They said, I've been trying to think of how to say the same thing. And it was easy. It was actually super easy. And I felt great afterwards. Then the kind of sad part of this is about a week later, the person passed away. There was an accident where they were hit by a car. And I learned a lesson then that it was never worth holding on to a grudge, especially if there was going to be regret about what might happen if I had words left unsaid. So even though we weren't in a perfect space, we left it in a good place. We even said, oh, let's meet sometime. We'll do coffee. And it was great. So I think for all of you, because we have uncertain times, because it could be sickness, it could be some sort of economic thing that hits or whatever, like let's not waste time over petty disagreements. Unfortunately, we're not always seeing that on a world leadership level, but when we look at, you and I, we can make a difference. We don't have to kind of draw any lines. It's a human race. It's all connected. Everything else is an illusion. It's the same as like what I'm wearing here. It's just something that's on the outside. The souls are the same. So find a way this week, this month, this year to start to go through the list of people in your life where you have some sort of a regret. Say, I'm sorry, make amends, let it go. At the very least, just forgive yourself as well, to kind of just let go of this stuff. It reminds me of like a Christmas Carol. We don't want to be like Jacob Marley with all of those chains behind him. So like link by link, remove them now in life so that you don't have to deal with that in death. Life review happens now too. We don't have to wait. And that's one of the things that's great about what we're doing here each and every month, each and every day, because I've been showing up almost every day for the duration of this sort of pandemic. So I'll continue to try to show up as much as I can. This is the last reading for this month, but I will be doing different things over the course of the next week or so. I may come through with just sort of like stress relief techniques and breathing, meditation. I may pull 3 cards for the day to see what's coming through. I'll kind of see where I'm taken. And so I would say one thing that's really important is if you haven't liked and subscribed and opted into notifications, do it now, because I'm not going to necessarily do that on a schedule. So you want to know when that's happening. Okay, let's get into the forecast with the cards now. I'm going to remain quiet at this point. So please just let me observe what's going on, and I will rejoin you afterwards and break down all the information in front of me. Again, this is for April 2020, but because we're incorporating some current events into this, they're really becoming 6-week forecasts. So now plus the month ahead, 5 to 6 weeks. All right, thanks everyone for being patient. Let's go and begin with the Catalyst card. The Catalyst is a way that I basically draw connections with everything here. Talked a little bit earlier about how Catalyst functions. It really can help accelerate things or slow them down. So a lot of times this helps keep us in the highest energy as well. And it's a very alchemic card. First of all, it says question your beliefs, but flip it upside down. So let me show you this. It's a beautiful illustration here. And I think this has to do with perspective and being able to sort of go into something and figure out, like, is it what it seems? Can I do more with it? Can I look at something from a different angle and actually be maybe in a position where it's an opportunity rather than a setback? And I love that she's kind of dipping into a pool of radiance, something that I use in meditations quite a bit. So the other thing that this looks like to me is kind of like a galaxy. And one thing that is really interesting about when you think of a galaxy, it's beautiful when you look at it from afar, but things move very slowly sometimes. Some things are fast, but a lot of the rotations, especially the cosmic arms, move very slowly. And what we're seeing right now sometimes is kind of like this it's almost like if we could fast forward to a year from now, it would all start to make a little bit more sense. So I would say take it one little arm of that galaxy at a time and realize that you don't know what the whole of the situation is going to be. So try to sort of keep a positive perspective and know that you have a lot more power than you think. When it says question your beliefs, I think this is also kind of encouraging you to open up your mind to possibilities, not to sort of be stuck in any one particular direction, because we have a very traditional card at the helm here with the Hierophant, which can sometimes be all about sort of sticking with what's predictable. I think it's good to have a schedule, and that's why that card is coming through. But I think that otherwise, there are parts of your life where keeping an open perspective is going to be important. I've been using the metaphor of like a willow tree, something that's able to sort of sway and bend with the wind rather than something that's rigid, that's going to kind of like break a branch off or something like that. The center card has to do with the heightened emotional state that I think we're all experiencing, but your power and or your potential block this month, blessing and block, I used to use that when I did weeklies, is your emotions. So we have the Page of Cups here. Page, of course, affecting how you communicate, how you receive information. So allow this filter to be as clear as possible. I think a lot of us just need an outlet, right? And right on top of this is Ten of Swords, right? So Ten of Swords can be a feeling of doom, of gloom, of failure. There can also be some of you that are literally sort of sick and trying to get well. I see all of that with these two cards. So I think the most important thing for you right now is to find a way to allow your body to release the negativity, the fear, the frustration, the heightened emotions. And if you are in a place where you're not feeling well, obviously take care of yourself. The Ten of Swords doesn't have to always indicate that there's a terrible outcome. For me, the Ten of Swords is a warning card as well. So sometimes when I read for like a workaholic, for instance, I'll get this card and I'll say, be careful, because this is basically it's a harbinger of things to come. So if you don't take care of yourself, you could throw out your back. If you don't take care of yourself, you could be more susceptible to a viral infection, which you don't want to be right now. And also it can just show sort of like a mental susceptibility too, to just sort of have a breakdown or a collapse. So take care of yourself, ask for help, talk to people that you love. That's going to be ever so important. And the big thing right now is we're in a moment where I kind of feel like some of the walls are tumbling down. It's a paradigm shift. And we're going to see big shifts in industry and in the way that politics work and how we kind of function as society as a whole, not just from nation to nation. So we have the Death card in reverse, which is an end to stagnation, but it came forth because there were things in place that were kind of long in the tooth and needed to shift. So a lot of what's going on has nothing to do with you or me right now. And it has to do with basically systems that didn't work and didn't kind of function the way they should have. In our life, Death reverse is encouraging us to look at the same sort of things. Am I in a dead-end job? Am I in a dead-end relationship? Am I feeling burned out? Long before this sort of thing has hit us a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, for some parts of the world, it was last year. So long before the pandemic, I think some of us were kind of at a point in our lives, particularly for you Pisces, where you were thinking, I need a change. I'm not happy or I'm not feeling it anymore and I feel stuck. So what this gives you not only permission, but also it's kind of like you have to evolve. It's giving you this push right now. Okay, so, you know, this is a Tower moment, a Tower, a Ten of Swords, a Death moment. So I'm not surprised we saw a couple of those cards here. We're going to rebuild now. We're going to think anew. One of the blessings of right now is extra time with pets, with family, with friends. You know, you get a chance now to kind of be a little closer to those that you love. Of course, it's difficult if you have older relatives and you can't be near them as much because of social distancing. But the Ten of Cups is showing that you're going to be able to reconnect. And I really think that this is the make amends piece. I don't know about you, but I've actually started getting texts, emails, and calls from friends that I haven't heard from for maybe 10, 15, 20 years. So old friends from high school, college, cousins, relatives. What a welcome thing this is during all the changes that are going on. It's really nice to catch up. And I mentioned yesterday in the Aquarius reading, don't be afraid to actually talk to someone like on the phone. I think that the power of the vibration of your voice, it's far superior to a text. We've become accustomed to that since like 2007 or whatever. That's become a big thing. And I text too, but you can't tell how somebody feels 100%. Like I can sometimes because I'll get a download. But when it's just the words, you have to like tune into their energy because the words can sort of belie how they actually feel. So do like Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, or pick up the phone and actually hear their voice and keep calling until they pick up. Don't stalk somebody, but like if it's a family member or a friend, call a couple times and just check in and then leave a message and say, I love you. I hope you're well. The phone works both ways. Call me if you need me. That makes a big difference, and it's going to help you and help others. As we look at your crowning card, this card can be taken a couple of ways. I think the main piece of information coming through for the Hierophant is to focus on creating a new structure in your life. So the Hierophant excels when there is a feeling of purpose. Now, what's interesting right now is that foundational card, Death Reverse, is kind of taking away the purpose. So find a new sort of center. This was the wayfinding thing. So if you know that you have some core skills, maybe you're a good listener, you like helping, there's going to be different opportunities to have outreach. And you just can explore some of that. It also means to kind of break through some of the hard-headed thinking that you might have. If, you know, like when it comes to working, if just having a job is important, then take what's available. Don't kind of hold pride or stay too sort of solid in, I have to be this, I have to have this title, I have to go back to this job. We have to be flexible right now. And the Hierophant here is as much about organization as it is maybe going back to school or educating yourself or trying something new. And then finding new structure and new sort of comfort in that. I think once you have a new habit in your life, a new sort of schedule, it will be helpful. Page of Swords reversed. So let's face it, a lot of what we hear right now isn't the most uplifting, right? It can be downright scary. Let's do our best to uplift one another. With the Page of Swords in reverse, I mentioned this yesterday as well to Aquarius, and I think it connects to what we're seeing here. Think positively. Try to also be at least sort of there as a listening ear or, you know, helping hand to somebody in your life, and try to encourage and lift up. Now, if you need help, the Page of Swords in reverse is about absolutely stepping up and saying, you know, I need help. I'm not feeling well, or I'm concerned, or I'm depressed, because Page of Cups in the center can be about that. So if you're depressed, ask for help. If you're not feeling well, go to the doctor. Or, you know, call and say, is this something I should get checked out? The nice piece of this, however, is that if you take the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords together, some of you are having sort of like a creative renaissance right now. So with the extra time that some of you have, not all of you, but if you are one of the few that are, or one of the many actually, one of the many that are either laid off or at home waiting to go back to work or working from home, you have more time to kind of exercise your creative muscle. And for those of you that are doing that, or at home, this is a chance for you to kind of revisit things like music, art, poetry, you know, even kind of just getting your space into a proper place so that it allows for you to feel better and for the energy to flow. Use this time to be creative, however that feels right. But Page of Swords is writing and communication. For those of you that are working too hard, because we have both ends of the extreme and there's not a lot of in between, people at grocery stores, convenience stores, working with pets. Also, I'm leaving some of these out, but there's a lot of different industries that are working like 24/7 right now, trying to catch up. Pharmaceutical companies, of course, and even politicians right now, they're trying to get stuff done. Whether or not they're doing it effectively is another thing, but they're trying to get it done. All these people are kind of putting their lives at risk right now. This is where the Ten of Swords message came in. So if you're in the place right now where you're overworked, then please, for your own sake, say no to some of these things and ask for help and get more people hired. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of people looking for work, so let's try to spread that where we can, the extra money, the extra abundance. So say no, have limits, get some rest, take care of yourself. And for the rest of you, try not to let the sort of feeling of energetic, overwhelming, and sort of emotional sort of weight kind of pull you down. It's not worth it. The Empress card here is about basically taking control wherever you can. Also, there's a very kind of home-like energy to this card, which makes perfect sense. So we are all kind of being forced to be the emperor and the empress right now, working from home, creating new things, and know that there's a lot of power in having that space. Because I think prior to maybe the last 2 or 3 months or 6 months, depending on like where in the world you are, we had been sort of on a roller coaster and just keep going faster and faster and faster. I think right now we're kind of slowing down and figuring out what's going right, what's going wrong. This is entrepreneurial. There's also a little bit of a warning with this, and it makes a lot of sense. Some of you could be getting pregnant right now. Be careful. Whenever I see a mother card like this, it's just saying, if you're looking to get pregnant, great. If you're not, don't. For those of you that are retired or working, this is really about taking ownership of who you are. So just a little bit of a warning there. All right. Also, whenever I see a king, queen, or an empress card, you want to move a little bit more. So just make sure that you're getting out. A lot of times, especially with death reversed, this can show stagnation or a lack of movement. So most of us are able to walk outside. We can't kind of like touch other people or get too close, but you can walk outside. So take advantage of that. At least walk in your apartment, do some exercises. There's a lot of free videos online that are available for that. Try not to go into excess. As we look at the environment, we have 3 of Cups in reverse. Normally 3 of Cups is a very positive card. It shows celebration, community. Some of you are just feeling that lack of, wishing you could kind of reconnect. Do some virtual meetups. You can do watching parties on Facebook. You can do Zoom connections. You can call people. You can even do like conference calls, stuff like that. But this can also be about over drinking, overeating, or going into substance abuse because of perhaps heightened emotional state. So try not to do that. Try to moderate food and drink intake. Try to reconnect with people. And if you're feeling like you're an outsider, you're not connected, do things to find community. It is possible even when we're kind of stuck in our houses. Thank goodness for the internet, because that's how I'm here today. As we look at what opportunities can come forth from this, we have like a wizard here in the page card, which is saying, hey, you can take this period to think of new things. You got a lot of pages. You got Page of Cups, Page of Swords, and also the Page of Wands. So you can go anywhere you want with your thoughts. Take them higher, fly, like we see in this particular card here. So I want you to think of what next and how can I do this and who might be a good connection for this. And I think that's the key. Invent, innovate, and really try something maybe even that you aren't completely a master of, because a page is at the beginning. So, you know, maybe you were a CEO, maybe you were a manager, or maybe you've just been 15 or 20 years in the same job and had a really good feel for how to do it. Now we're going to be asked to try to hit the reset and try something completely different. As we look at your outcome, we again have the emotional card coming through here. So of course, this is you, Pisces, but the King of Cups is in reverse, and I want to see this card upright. I want you to feel like you are empowered. You can use your passion, your emotion to really create the change and effect on the world that you need. If you can get into a place where you don't feel like you're sinking like this knight is, I think you're going to be okay. The card was reversed, and we also see that he's actually going into the water with that horse, which you don't want to do. So I would say it's time to kind of like change course right now and do what you can to let go of the heavy emotions. I know it's easier said than done, but I mentioned some ways: talking to others, using art and creativity, just walking around and exercising. All of these things are going to be really important. Let's look at each of these through the lens of the expanded forecast, beginning with health, which is multi-part. We're going to look at mind, body, and spirit. And we have love and compassion, which is exactly what I was talking about with make amends. So I think it's healthier to let go of things. This card was reversed, but the compassion card is basically saying to treat everybody as kindly as possible, to assume the best. And even, notice they're not quite touching, find other ways to reach out and sort of figuratively contact or touch someone. And this can be phone calls, regular mail, texting, although again, I think texting isn't enough. It's a good start, but for people that you truly care about, go a little bit further. And looking now at other health cards, as I said, with the Empress, it's time to move a little bit more. I think a lot of you actually are at a place where you can get a positive change in your life. Maybe you were working so hard that your diet went askew, that there were other parts of your life, maybe even addiction and other things that were kind of stepping in, whether it was maybe drinking or smoking. This is a chance to get a handle on that and think time is short. Plus that costs a lot of money. And most of those places are closed anyway, so I'm not going to go there. So this gives you a good excuse. Limited financial resources, and also just doesn't make sense because you want to be healthy and these things pull you down energetically. So focus on eating well and working out and finding a release for your emotional stress. And I think that's going to be key. And that doesn't matter if you're working or if you're waiting to go back to work. It's important to do both. Let's look now at wealth, which is money, finances, career, and we have new beginnings. So this is basically self-explanatory, and it was what I was touching upon earlier. I had an uncle who was once a CEO, and then he ended up working at a grocery store, and this was years ago. And he had a lot of fun doing that. He needed some sort of stability in his life, so I get it. It doesn't have to be the same job. Some of us just need to feel needed and wanted. And know that there might be people in your life that are afraid to ask for that help, particularly fathers, uncles, older brothers, people that are kind of like from an older generation, and they were so attached, even millennials and younger. There's some people that kind of define themselves by their job. So when their job goes away, they don't know who they are. And it's scary, right? But this is also what it is. Death is coming through. Notice that this death angel is there to actually kind of help you. And I like when I see a positive illustration of death, because it is a transformative energy to basically bring you to a higher frequency, to help you go from one place to another. So if something ended in your life, know that you have support to get into something better, and it needed to end. That doesn't mean that it's not just distressing, because right now a lot of us are trying to figure out, how am I going to pay for rent on the first? How am I going to pay for my mortgage? How are the kids going to be put through college and all of that? These are normal things. They're knee-jerk reactions as well. We're going to play it a day at a time, a month at a time, and different countries and different states are taking different approaches. But for now, why not think of the empowering thing, which is I get a new start now. I actually not only have an excuse, but I have to evolve. And so this is, I think, the key piece of advice for Pisces this month is to really focus on evolution and using your you have the ability to be precise, especially when your emotional state and your passion is there. So get the emotional state from being frazzled or depressed into being excited and empowered, and then go forward. Because when you are truly kind of excited and charismatic, that's when you're going to be able to find new connections, get a new job, bring in abundance, make your way through this challenging period. So, new beginnings. We didn't get any financial cards for you. Sometimes an absence of a card tells me that there's a focal point on that. So there's a waiting period for many of you. And I get that, and it's challenging. And I would say that's why the new beginnings card is saying, if you're waiting too long for something to come through, then don't be afraid to try a different path. That's going to be better than waiting too long. I survived the .com bubble burst in 2000, 2001, followed by the September 11th attacks, which both of those kind of decimated our economy. I also survived the 2008 or 9 financial crisis, but the first one was the toughest. And I see a lot of the harbingers of that coming through this time, where some people are in denial. So my advice to you right now is don't wait. If you feel like you need to, we'll wait until the 2 weeks are done for many of us that are waiting, but some of the lockdowns in different countries are even longer. So if you're waiting and you have to find a new way to make money, do it. It's time to evolve. You can't always wait for the old job to come back. And that was one thing that helped me move forward. I just changed industries. I was working in more traditional design, and I went into entertainment at that point. I was like, well, I can still design. I'll just work for a studio. So I repackaged then. And I keep repackaging my skills over my life and just kind of use them in different ways. There's nothing bad about that. The titles don't matter. People just remember if you're a hard worker and if you do something well, and your kind of reputation will follow you that way. Okay, let's take a look now at love. So I like that this is sort of a new dawn is what I see here. Many of you are kind of in the dark night of the soul. You're going through some struggles and some challenges. This card is reversed, but it's reminding you that there is a dawn to follow this twilight that many of you are in. This also reminds me a lot of what dreams may come. So a lot of us are dealing with loss in multiple ways. Like I said, it could be a loss of a place that you're living. It could be a loss of a loved one. It could just be a general fear of death. Death came through. It's been coming through in a few spreads. And What Dreams May Come is a beautiful movie, but it's all about death, basically, and making peace with that, not being afraid of it, and knowing that there are some things you can control, there are some things that you can't. But I think that death, just like the all of the expanded forecast, is multi-part. It comes through to change us. So this is transformation. Transformation meaning change of a job, change of your eating or living habits, change of relationship status, change of location. For some of you, transitioning from life to afterlife. So change is happening, like it or not. Death is in the deep past here. But for many of us, because we're watching it ahead of April, it's happening now. So change is afoot. Embrace it and go with it and dance with it, as we see with this. Become a partner to transformation. Let's stop calling it death. Let's start calling it transformation. Partner up with transformation and figure out, let's work with this. I can't change it, but I can learn from you and I can change myself and my view, and that's going to help quite a bit. And when I do that, I can kind of like this painting come into focus. One of the characters, so in What Dreams May Come, the kids come through as different people. And the main character, kind of Robin Williams, sees these characters. Initially, you can't make them out, and then they start to come in, and then they reveal themselves as something else. So realize that we're starting to kind of see life and kind of like take the onion skin off all the different layers. This is a revelation period where you think you may know someone or something, or you may know yourself, but all the layers are coming off. It's actually beautiful on some levels, but it can be scary too. So try to keep your sort of footing and have fun with it. In the movie, when he started to kind of play around with the fact that he was controlling things, he could do anything, and it was kind of like his own painting. So try to kind of work with the action and energy of transformation and creativity, because transformation is, you have to destroy to create. So they go hand in hand. They're like brother and sister. All right, so this card is reversed, and I think a lot of you are missing the ability to go places. We have faraway places reversed, and it says get ready for new horizons. So impatience, isolation, and a desire to try to go somewhere that you can't. Well, with meditation, we can go there, and we'll do that when we do the expanded meditation. With all of the sort of electronic services that we have now, like Zoom, any video conferencing, we can do it. My entire, like all my clients, I see them either through Skype, through FaceTime, or through phone. So I don't really see them. We just talk across the world. And that's what we're doing now too. So find new ways to go places. And I think that's going to be key. And remember that eventually we'll be able to travel again. This isn't a forever thing. It is changing the way we maybe travel and think of travel, but it's just a pause. So we have to focus on taking care of ourselves, resetting, slowing down, and flipping it upside down, trying to see things from a positive perspective when and if possible. And if not a positive perspective, then at least an empowering thing. What can I control? Let's go ahead now, and we're going to look at everything that we just talked about, and then we'll go a little bit deeper in how can I dance with transformation? How can I go through renewal, rebirth, reincarnation, and figure out like what can I do in this life? Not physically dying, but like just deciding I'm going to change what's going on and come through this a different person. So let me pull the camera down and let's talk about everything we just said, but like now tie connections a little bit quicker. All right. So the most important thing right now is to figure out what you want. When I was in grad school, my professor at the end said, okay, what are you gonna do with your life now? This is like after I'd already turned in my thesis and graduated. And I was like, why didn't you ask me that earlier? So I'm asking you now, what do you wanna do with your life? Imagine that I was an angel with you in the afterlife and we were talking about your life review. My question to you today is, did you do what you wanted? If you said, if the answer is no, then put together a list of things that you wanna do and make it happen over the course of the next 24 months. If you're happy, then think about how else you can expand and where you want to sort of take your skills next. As we were looking at the goddess Artemis, focus on your inner strength. Be precise, just like when she holds her bow and arrow, and redirect your attention away from the bad news. Don't ignore it, but don't solely sit into that bad news and sort of like make that the only thing, because you are powerful too. You're like that goddess. Make amends. There's no time to wait with this one. So if there's someone in your life that you love and you're holding some sort of a grudge, let it go this month. It's really important. All right. You have a lot more power than you think. This is, again, kind of like, it reminds me of Artemis or Hera or one of the gods looking down. So flip it upside down. Know that your perspective is everything. Question what you thought you knew. It probably is changing and shifting, and you have to kind of have a paradigm shift of thought. We have 2 cards which would normally illustrate you. This could also be a relationship, so I'm going to talk about that for a moment. Page of Cups, King of Cups, both reversed. If you're in a relationship right now, it could definitely be being put to the test, because over top of the page, we have the 10 of Swords. So that can show heightened likeliness to argue or have sort of breakdowns. Where is that coming for those of you in a relationship? Through the Page of Swords reversed. For some of you also, maybe because you just feel like you can't connect with your old friends and coworkers, so you're taking this out on one another. Try to heal that if you can. For those of you that are alone, what we're seeing here is just a small amount of sadness, possibly building into more serious depression or sadness, so you've got to speak up. And that's what that is. If you're single and looking right now, it's hard, right? We have the 3 of Cups in reverse. It's not going to be an easy time to meet. You can still do virtual stuff, but you're not going to be able to meet face-to-face because we have social distancing. You're going to have to do virtual stuff. And that's why I'm not focusing so much about love right now. It's more about existing relationships. And I think healing the past. This is going to be important so that when you get out there, you're going to be able to successfully navigate and attract that person. This is a period for personal work for everybody. All right. 10 of Swords on top of this. If you're one of those professions that I listed or didn't remember and you're working too hard, 10 of Swords says, take it easy. Make sure that you can take some time off. Ask your boss, say, I'm afraid I'm going to get sick. I have to take tonight off. Take some time, rest. You are running yourself too thin or too ragged. If you're waiting for work and you're feeling like, the world is kind of crumbling around you or there's too much pressure, this is when you have to talk to someone. Pick up the phone. There's a lot of hotlines out there, especially if there's any feelings of despair or whatever. Pick up the phone now. I can't help you with that, but there are people out there that can, and it's important to do that. Death reversed. Embrace transformation. Transformation is not coming through here to hurt you or to trick you. It's coming in to try to help you. So see it as an advocate, go with it, see where the change takes you. 10 of Cups. Really an important time for you to spend with family to connect with the ones that you love. Say, I'm sorry, say, I love you, check in, it's important. The Hierophant, starting to create new habits in your life, learning new things, getting organized, possibly giving a sense of leadership or organization to people around you that feel like they don't know what to do. Page of Swords reverse, channel that somewhere positive, and try to be constructive with it. A lot of times, a court card with the Suit of Swords can be sort of negatively construed if you see that. So I'm just going to say this is a time to get it all out on paper, but not necessarily have to share that with anyone. Use a journal or talk to someone. That's the important thing with this one. The Empress, you have more strength and power than you think. This is basically Artemis coming through and saying you can make this work. Working from home, also just a reminder not to sit too much. The 3 of Cups reverse, avoid excess, avoid substance abuse. If you're feeling isolated, find other ways to talk to people. Texting isn't enough, though. I think you have to actually talk on the phone or through a video chat. Think of what's next. Innovation is always the way you can get through difficult times like this. And then try to use your passionate energy to attract people, to be charismatic, rather than kind of having what we're seeing here is sort of an acceleration of heavy feelings. So I want you to find a way to kind of have an outlet for that. Extend compassion towards others. Love yourself, love others. For many of you, you're just looking for a sense of, am I okay? Am I loved? Do I matter? Yes, you do. Yes, you are. And a way to kind of open up that connection is to just let others know that you care about them. It's a time to change, new beginnings. So after destruction comes creation. So we have death and we have rebirth here. So some of you are resisting death, which is why it came through reversed. But with this goddess here, we're seeing that it's going to be all right. You have to just take this opportunity to walk through the portal and go into the next step. A very big energy of what dreams may come in this illustration. Basically, again, making peace with transformation, using that energy to reinvent yourself, reimagine yourself, remembering that after every night there is a dawn. So it's important to remember that and to start to think of what you're going to do in that figurative dawn once we're through this crisis. And to use that creative energy for something good. The woman in the movie, I forget the character's name and the actress's name, but she was a painter. And so basically he kind of, the afterworld was, he imagined all of her paintings and he was living in her paintings, but she was also connecting with him when he passed away. Anyway, painting, dancing, writing, singing, anything with your hands, home improvement, gardening, these things are really great ways to ground yourself and express and channel that energy. Okay, I totally understand this feeling of I can't go where I used to. It's okay. But there are ways that you can connect, and the internet is a great way to do that. So let's use it for what it was intended to do and really open up those channels. Remember, again, you have a lot of ability to reach in, to change perspective, your perspective and others, especially if there are people in your life that are having a hard time dealing with this. With the Hierophant card in the crowning position, some of you can actually use this as an excuse to sort of like just sort everything out and say, listen, we've got this. We're going to figure it out. Even if you don't have it all together, you can work together on that. All right, let's know, now we're going to expand the forecast. We're looking at basically transformation. I need to take a drink of water because I'm talking a lot. And then I'm going to look at how we can look at past influences, present opportunities, and where this may be taking us. All right. We'll start with the past, which could either be a blessing or a block. Okay, so Five of Cups from the past. This is a card of perspective. And with the Five of Cups, it can kind of hit either way for you. So you're going to have to weigh this out for yourself. When I'm looking at this, I actually am paying attention to the 3 cups that have spilled. So I think for some of you, you are at a point in time where as you look at sort of the aggregate of experiences in a relationship, a job, or something going on in your life, you may figure out that if we were to take scales, it would kind of be weighted too heavily in one way. So it's sort of like it's not worth that energy. So you get a chance now to turn around and try something different where you hadn't been putting your time and energy. It's not a loss. Sometimes when we look at, so say you were in a company and you were laid off and you think, I put in 20 years of my life at that company. Well, you may have the next 10 years to focus on something that really matters and you can enjoy it. You might be appreciated more. You may be able to save yourself from getting a heart attack from stress. There are all sorts of hidden blessings that could be packaged into this. And instead of focusing on the loss, you could look at, you know what? I was really stressed out. I never got to see my family. I wasn't happy with my boss. The company's crazy. Look at some of those and find, normally I wouldn't say to focus on the negative, but if you are leaving something and you realize I'm being blessed by being removed from those negative pieces of it, then you can think, okay, I'm now going to look and embrace what time is left and do something that really, really matters. Every day is a blessing. Every day brings challenges and opportunities. So start to really embrace what's ahead. And you can let go of the stuff from before, and it wasn't a waste. We call in everything as a lesson. So you could just kind of view this as like a PhD. So sometimes there's a lot of schooling that you want to go through with life lessons. So you get to graduate right now, and some really cool things can come through. For those of you that want to make something work, this could be more along the lines of a relationship or something else in your life where you're like, I'm not ready to give up yet. The Five of Cups card shows that you can still do it, but there better start to be some sort of reciprocity soon. So there's a little bit of an urgency with the Five of Cups, which is, you know, if there was a, relationship, you'd have to probably try some couples therapy to see if the other person wants to show up. So there's a little bit of a timer on this one, and I think you can decide how much, and that's the important thing. With all of this, we see her crying here. There should be a sense of, I am going to make a choice and feel empowered by that choice. I'm not going to sit in the energy of what has happened because it's already happened. It's in the past. That's why the Five of Cups is in the past. Let's focus on the future. Love this one. So looking at present, it is opportunity. And I love that this is almost like an atom or something. So this is the Ace of Pentacles, which is very alchemic, which is very much like the Magician, which is showing you that you have the power to create and to reinvent and to reimagine. And it's going to require a change of emotional and also sort of cognitive direction. But for some of you who are looking for something new, there's an opportunity. It's waiting around the corner, though. We have to look at this card. She's not paying attention to the tree. The little cups are back here in the tree, and we have all the spilled ones here, and she's focusing on that. So you have to change direction. So that's why back at the beginning, I saw this compass, wayfinding. The path that you're on has to shift. Whether it's a 5-degree change or a 180 is up to you, but I feel like there's a change that needs to happen. By the way, there's a little tattoo on this. I think it's like it looks like it's just a little nymph. I just paid attention to that. I was curious what that was. But anyway, you can make the change happen. Interesting. All right, so we have Seven of Pentacles, which makes a lot of sense. We're looking at future state. Seven of Pentacles comes through after a period of loss. It's recovery and it's growth. The rate at which that happens is kind of up to you. But at least it kind of shows you that you can make it work. A lot of times when I look at sevens, we look at like particularly like Seven of Cups, Seven of Pentacles. Again, there's sort of like a direction that's needed or a focus that's needed. So I think for you, figuring out what you want to put your time and energy into is going to be really important. The other thing with the Seven of Pentacles is a reminder not to accrue too much credit debt or to take out too many loans, because this card can lead to debt if you're kind of leaning too heavily in those areas. But what I like about this, it reminds me a lot more of Seven of Cups, which is saying I have a lot of places that I can put my energy. This is Seven of Pentacles. So which one is going to grow that or return more on that energy? And that's going to be how you can make more out of less. Because what we really want to see is Eight of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles. 6 and 7 show that there's a little bit of balancing to do. A lot in the 6 and the 7s, you have to just be careful about overextending yourself. But we are getting Pentacles for you. There was an absence before, so I like it. But I think for some of you, it's something new, something different, changing direction. So as we meditate here in a moment, I think one of the things that we can focus on is a feeling of, I'm not afraid to try something different. I am not my job. I'm not defined by the title or by the paycheck. I am, more of a human being than that. And then also being empowered by it. When I quit my job in 2015, I felt guilty. I don't know if any of you have had this. I felt guilty because I don't know what it was. It was a weird feeling to have. I really wanted to produce my book. I wanted to be able to connect with people and teach and heal. And at the time, I thought I would be doing more yoga and meditation. It took 5 years for some of that to come through. But I just wanted to be more of service. But I felt bad because I thought, I heard my neighbors going to work. I wondered what relatives and parents thought of me. And eventually I thought, who cares? I need to do this and it's right for me. And it'll work because I think it will work. So once I got out of my headspace, and it took 2 to 3 months. So if you're just starting this, give yourself a quarter of the year to go through the grieving process. For some of you, kind of like denial and then figuring it all out. And then once I set out a schedule and started to just put my energy into things, it was fine. So you have a period right now where you have to give yourself permission to try something new. Also to have like this reality check where it's changed. I can't do it anymore. So we'll know a lot more in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but I do think that a lot of things are going to change after this. So get ahead of that curve and don't be afraid. All right. Everybody, please, that can stay. If you're going to take part in the meditation, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. There's no excuse not to meditate right now because most of us are working from home or on full lockdown, waiting to go back to work. So why not take part in this and enjoy? I like this this card, and I think that this might be part of what we're going to go into. And I also like this card. So I'd like to work with, we'll move through the shadow energy because we have to right now. And then I want you to sort of be the light bringer, be the creator. And we're going to infuse light and imagine that you are kind of, maybe now we'll become Apollo and we'll bring light to the world through a chariot of light. But you're going to be the beacon. You'll be like a star coming through the sky, bringing light in. Okay. So let's take a moment and ground ourselves. Close your eyes, please, and relax. I just want you to take a moment to scan your body, imagining that you had this beam of light that you could go through and you could see anything that wasn't well or that was kind of energetically not where it needed to be. Take a moment, and as you breathe, I want you to sit up tall, push your chest out, and really allow the heart chakra to open up. And imagine that a puff of smoke comes out on the exhale. Any of the dark energy that you're holding on to, you're going to push it out. And we're going to do 2 or 3 deep breaths. As you breathe in, you're going to pull in the energy of a star or light. As you exhale, you're going to push out this cloud of smoke, which can be fear, doubt, uncertainty, or even illness. Get it out of your body. Breathe with intention and with a little bit of energy. It's going to be necessary to push it in and out. All right. Inhale. Think of what you want to let go of in your life. Sigh it out. More than a sigh, actually. Push it out. Inhale, really breathe deeply. On the exhale, push it out. Last breath, take your time, elongate the inhale. Hold it for a second. Slowly exhale. Good. Allow your breathing to return to normal. And imagine that you are walking at night. It's twilight. It's evening time, maybe about an hour before dawn. And I want you to imagine that you're just starting to see the glow of the sky, but it's still very dark. You're using the stars to guide you, and you're using the energy that's coming through your heart chakra. We just opened it up. So imagine that this beautiful green energy is coming forth from your heart chakra, allowing you to see the forest around you. We're in a sort of wilderness setting. So walk along this forest trail until you get to the top of a hill. And I want you to take a look at the world around you. The first thing you notice is that it's quiet, that it's dark. And for a moment, you feel a little bit of being isolated, being alone. Because we're doing a group meditation, imagine that there are a lot of little hills, a lot of little mountaintops, and that each one of you is sitting at the top of those mountains. I want you to open up your heart light, this beautiful green energy, so that just like fireflies, we're going to be able to see one another in this night. Take a nice deep breath and allow your heart space to glow open. Send the light out to the world and allow everybody in this meditation to see your light. And now in your imagination, I want you to see the forest and see what looks like hundreds of tiny little hearts in the distance lighting up like fireflies. But unlike fireflies, they're not dimming, they're starting to grow and glow brighter. And the forest now, instead of being dark, you're starting to see more and more light up. As other people watch this at a later time, we can kind of see their energy that's going to come in the future. And before you know it, before the sun even shines, you actually start to see this beautiful light encompass the world. Beautiful greenish yellow glow. And I'm going to play the singing bowl for a moment, and I want you to share that healing energy with the world and send out thoughts of love, of healing power, also a prayer for anybody that is sick or has departed so they can find their way home. And I ask Archangel Raphael to come through and help facilitate this prayer of healing. So imagine that we can't hold hands, but we can connect in the heart space and shine like a beacon of light. If you're on headphones, turn it down a little bit. Otherwise, just enjoy this meditation and allow for your heart space to light up. to the archangels that are present, to all of the healing souls out there. Thank you for sending that love and light to the planet. Turn your eyes towards the horizon and see the rising sun. And as the sun starts to come through with beautiful shades of gold, purple, tangerine, all the colors of the rainbow, I want you to start to feel now that each and every chakra in your body is coming to life, not just your heart. And imagine that just like that painting, you can start to reimagine who you will be in this new dawn. Perhaps you will have a different perspective on the world. Perhaps you will approach things differently, work a different job. Just know that in your mind and in your heart that it's going to be okay. Take a deep breath and let go of any uncertainty, any sadness. And I'll do a shorter meditation here and just see the light coming through and imagine the entire world is suffused with light. Healing power is being extended to all of those and that need it, and also people that just are feeling sad. Allow your own energy to also be heightened and lightened. Take a final breath. On the exhale, I want you to take your hands together. Start to rub them, feel the warmth and heat and light and radiance that you've conjured up within your body, within your mind, within your spirit. Draw a circle around your body. Hold your hands together in a cupped position and imagine that you are feeling the energy of this Ace of Pentacles cards. You can open your eyes and imagine that you can create your reality. You are an alchemist. You can do this. We see it here. And imagine the recovery and the growth and the abundance that's going to flow from your ability to innovate, to change, and to move. Make a choice today to say, I'm sorry to myself, to someone else, to be strong, to pick a choice, to pick a direction, and to embrace it. Thank you, everybody, for being present today. It was my pleasure, my honor to be here for you. For anybody that was kind enough to do a super chat, I saw some stickers and some chats as I was talking. Thank you so much. As I said, I will take a moment, maybe about half an hour after this is done, and say thank you. If you'd like to connect with me, a great way to see everything that is going on as far as future videos, past videos, etc., is to go to my website. I'd also love for you to join me on social media. In particular, Facebook and Instagram, but I'll start with Facebook because it's the same username as YouTube. So I'm at Nicholas Ashbaugh on YouTube, Facebook, and Patreon. Patreon is a great way, and I know a lot of you already do this, to be a sustaining member. You can also click the join button here by clicking on that $sign, and there's a little join, become a channel member. And anyone that has green text, thank you so much for doing that. Again, you helped me buy this new deck of cards today. Another way to connect is Instagram. I use stories quite a bit on Instagram. Plus I post a bunch of cute pictures of my dog. Same thing on Facebook. And on Twitter, I will remind you on the day of any reading. And also if I do an impromptu one, I usually send an announcement there. So if you want to connect with me in any way, this is the best way on my website, including appointments. Last thing, please click subscribe. Surprisingly, when I look at analytics, 60%, sometimes even 70% of the people that watch don't subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, but it lets me know that there's somebody out there. So let me know that you're out there. Click subscribe, click like, share the video with somebody that you think might enjoy it, and know that that makes a big difference. And again, for anyone that has become a patron or helped out in some way, thank you so much. Keep strong, keep positive, and thank you for your love and light. I appreciate you, and I'll be back over the course of this week with some additional meditations, and I'll be back in about 2 weeks starting the new cycle for looking at April. We'll be looking at May, hard to believe, in the month of April. So take care of yourselves until then. Special thanks to Ryan and Maria for keeping this a safe space as well, and I'll talk to everybody soon. By the way, if you haven't looked at my meditation videos, I think I might still have this in my, no, I don't, I'm sorry. You can check out my website. They're all there as well. And the main page of YouTube. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.